Hi there, my name is Ibera Chigwe from Eric's Academy of Fashion, and today on this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple darted blouse. We're going to be working with the pattern making book, Pattern Making for the Shapely African Woman. So we're going to be using chapter 10. We're going to be needing our metal rule, a tape, markers, pencil, eraser, whichever one you're using. So we're going to be making a little adjustment. We're going to be having a cut. We're going to be having a dart on the armhole area and not just on the waistline. So first, we'll make our pattern we draw the blouse we need to create the pattern for. So now we have the neckline, which is the first line. We have the shoulder line, we have the armhole line, we have the bust line, we have the under bust line, we have the high waist line, and of course we have the full length line. So after the full length line, we have the hem line. So looking at this blouse now, it gives us an idea of the various parts of the body that it covers. So now we're going to be working with a series of measurements. We're going to be using the edge of the paper as the first line, which is zero line. That's the neckline. From the neckline to the shoulder line is 1 inch away. So we're going to measure from 0 to 1 inch. 1 inch is the shoulder line. So for an adult's chest position, we're going to be using 6 inches because Simbi, who happens to be our model, has a chest position of 6 inches. So 2 inches below the 6 inches is our armhole line. So after that, we have the bust position, which is 10 inches, under bust position, which is 13 inches, high waist position, which is 17 inches, then the full length position, 22 inches, 24 inches as the hem. That's as the hem position, since the hem is 2 inches away from the full length. So we're going to mark all the lines across, and then we're going to connect them with a metal rule, all nice and easy. So now we have our lines all established, all horizontal lines. Remember, these are positions and we don't divide them. So in making this blouse, we're going to be working with the rules of mathematics. The first one says that all round measurements must be divided by 4. And then all across measurements, that's number 2 rule, must be divided by 2. All across or horizontal measurements. Then all lengthwise measurements must remain undivided. So first we'll mark our neck width. The edge of the paper on the left becomes our center front line. So from the center front line, we'll mark our neck width. Neck width tells you how wide should the neck be from the middle of the front piece or the middle of your back. That's your back neck width. So you measure it. In this case, we're going to be using 3 inches away from the edge. We can actually make it wider, we can make it smaller. It all depends on the kind of effect you want. And of course, there are various kinds of necklines. So the neckline you're working with determines how wide you want it to be and a lot more other factors. So after we get the wideness, we now proceed to getting the full length of the neck. So it's called the neck depth. It tells you how deep the neck should be. So from the middle where I'm touching right here to the other edge is the neck width. So it's more like half of the neck if you fold your blouse, your front piece blouse into 2. So we have the neck depth. It could vary. If it goes too deep, your cleavage is going to show. If it goes too high, you might feel quite uncomfortable. So in this particular case, we're going to be working with 7 inches below the neckline. So we're creating a neck box, as I call it. The neck width is the wideness of the neck, and the depth is the depth, how deep the neck should go. So we connect our box. So whatever it is we want for the neckline, we'll do it in the box. So here we are. So we're going to measure our shoulder measurements divided by 2. We're going to start on the shoulder line. We're going to start on the shoulder line to measure our shoulder measurements divided by 2. And from measurements we have that the shoulder measurement is 14 inches. So before we do that, just a little recap on the various kinds of necklines. We have the sweetheart neckline, we have the boat neckline, we have the asymmetric neckline, we have the Princess Annie neckline, and different kinds of necklines. So we have an assorted variety of necklines to choose from. In this particular case, I could use a U-neck, V-neck, anyone, but now I'm going to be working with the most popular kind of neckline, which is the U-neck. So the important thing about necklines is that it must start from the neck width and end on the neck depth. Very important. So even if it's a U-neck you're working on, a V-neck, a triangle, any kind of neck you're working on at all, it must start from the neck point and end on the neck depth. So now we take the measurement of shoulder divided by 2. So we are going to have 7 inches. When you take the measurements, you mark it, then connect it to the neck point. The neck point is that point in the box up there. So you're going to connect it with a slant using a metal rule. So for the across chest measurements, we're going to subtract 1 inch from the shoulder measurement, not 1 inch from the divided shoulder measurement. You subtract 1 inch from the undivided shoulder measurement. Then, as usual, since it's an across measurement, you're going to divide by 2. So when I subtract 1 inch from 14 inches, I get 13. Divide 13 by 2, you get 6.5. So we'll mark 6.5 inches on the chest line, just like we have done already. So when you come down to the armhole line, on the armhole line you're going to mark round bust measurements divided by 4. Then you repeat that marking you had on your chest line. That 6.5 we had there, we still mark it on the armhole line. And the reason we're repeating it is not really for functionality, but to enable us get a curve. I'm not really a French curve person, but then doing this helps me to get a nicer curve when I do my freehand kind of curve. So we draw it down Then connect the shoulder line to the armhole line with a slanted line. Then with your tape from that point, a sharp point, you measure 2 centimeters and mark. Then you connect your chest point to the marked point. Then you connect it to the armhole line. So when you come to, so now you can see how nicely your curve is looking. So when you come to the bust line, which is line 10 inches, you're going to measure from the center front. You're going to measure from the center front, round bust divided by 4. So the same way I was able to get the curve for the armhole, I'll also apply the same principle to get the curve for the neckline. So for the round bust measurements, you have to round bust of 34 inches. So we divide 34 inches by 4 and we mark it on the bust line. So we don't mark anything on the under bust line, we don't mark anything on the high waist line, and we on the full length line now, you do your round bust divided by 4 plus an extra 3 inches. Why we add extra 3 inches is because we want a kind of flare effect, F-L-A-R-E effect on the edge. So it's kind of optional, but if you don't want to have that flare effect, just draw down the round bust measurements all the way down to the full length. You connect the armhole to the bust, and you connect the bust to the full length. Congratulations, you're done with the first phase of your pattern. You're done constructing the front bodice piece. Well, it looks shapeless, but not for so long. By the time we're ready to work on that will be after we're done making the back piece. We're going to shape it. So while constructing the back, the first line I will draw, if I wanted to, is to draw this zip line. Well, right now I'm going to use the edge of the paper as a zip line. So 1.5 inches away from the zip line is the zip allowance. Okay, the zip allowance is 1.5 inches. So we're going to measure it away from the zip line. So you mark it all across so that you can have a nice, clean and straight line. So you connect it with your metal rule all the way down from the neckline to the hemline. When you do this, after you're done doing this, you also measure your neck width. Remember, the neck width is a constant, but the neck depth varies. That's why you can actually have a high neck on the back neck, and then you have a low neck in front. And that's why you can also have a V-neck, a deep neck at the back, and then you have a very shallow or not so deep neck in front. So these are things that vary. So you can see that we already have our lines all extended from neckline to the shoulder line to the chest line to the armhole line, bust, under bust, high waist, and of course full length and hemline. So we're going to be starting with the neck width. So this line here, becomes the long line, the long vertical line becomes the center back line. So from the center back line, we measure our neck width of 3 inches. Like I said, the neck depth could vary, but you don't alter the neck width, except well in cases where you're working on a cowl neck. But right now we're not working on a cowl neck, so just stick to the basics. So after drawing out the neck width and the neck depth and drawing out the shape of the neck, we just construct the back piece just like we did to the front piece. The only difference right now is that the across chest at the back will have exactly the same measurement as the shoulder measurement, unlike the front where we have a deduction already. So this one could have a U-neck it could have a U-neck, it could have a V-neck, it could have any kind of neck you want. The important thing is that you're touching the neck point, which is where this point now. Yes, you're touching the neck point and then you're getting to whatever depth it is you want to get to. So from the center back line, not from the zip line please, from the center back line, you're going to measure from the center back line on the shoulder line. Very important. On the shoulder line, you're going to measure shoulder measurements divided by 2. So you connect it to the point, to the neck point with a slant. So from the center back line to on the chest line, instead of having your deduction, you put in exactly what you have on your shoulder. Why? Because the across back is wider than the front. So when you mark it, it's more like a straight line. You connect it. On the armhole line, you're going to mark the round bust measurement, then you repeat that which you have already marked on the chest line. You connect. You can draw your curve now before you take it to the bust. So we're going to connect with 1.5 centimeters away from the sharp point so that the curve can actually sit in better. This is what we'll do for the back. So for the round bust, on the bust measurements, you do the round bust measurements divided by 4. You connect it, and you also check the wideness of the edge in front. That's the wideness of the edge you're going to have at the back. So from the center back line, always from the center back line, you mark. You never start from the zip line. You don't have business with the zip line except for your zip shaping and all that. So when you connect it, you just do it the same way we did it to the front. Connect the full end to the hemline. Connect the bust to the armhole line. Then connect the bust to the full end line. So you see, it's easy. Congratulations, you just passed through the second phase of your tutorial on simple blouse making. So now we're going to do our zip shaping. Do you remember the way we did zip shaping with our pencil skirts? This time around we're going to split the high waist point. Sorry, I made a mistake to mark it on the underbust line. We're going to mark it on the high waist point. The high waist the zip allowance is 1.5 inches, so we just find the midpoint, connect that midpoint to the edge like this. You connect it to the edge of the hem, then you connect it to the neckline, that edge. So now we would have a very nice curve, well, more like nice slant, so that your zip can sit better on the back. There's a formula we'll follow when we want to make darts for blouses. The dart position is shoulder measurement divided by 4. We follow this formula especially when we're working on simple darted blouses. Sometimes when we're working on shoulder darted, armhole darted, blouses that require you should cut them in pieces, we do shoulder divided by 4 and we add 0.5 inches to it. So right now we have our front piece, we have our back piece. The next step is waist shaping. Waist shaping is a technique that requires you give shape to the waist, so your otherwise unshaped blouse now has some shape after you do your waist shaping. During waist shaping, you distribute darts. You distribute the excess to have your darts. You can have your darts in front, you can have your darts at the back. Then of course you can always hold the side so that it can attach more closely to the body. So I'm actually folding the paper now so that they can be closer together, so I don't take all the long distance to get to the other side of the paper. You don't have to do this if you're working on a wider table. I'm not using the wider side of the table, so that's why I'm having to fold it this way. So I need the two patterns, the front and the back pieces, to be in closer proximity than they were before. So right now for my waist shaping, the first step in waist shaping is to divide the round high waist measurement by 2. So for seam B, we're having a round high waist measurement of 27 inches. So we're going to divide it 27 inches by 2. So half of 27 inches is 13.5. So we're going to start looking for the 13.5 now. Now remember, this front piece we constructed is a representation of 1/4 of the entire blouse piece. The back piece too it represents 1/4 of the entire blouse piece. So that means the front piece and the back piece are a total of ½ inch. So we have 1/4 of the measurements in front, 1/4 of the measurements at the back. So when you put them together, it should give you half of the entire measurement. So we're going to start measuring from the high waist. Remember I told you we're looking for half of the round high waist measurement. So we start measuring until we get to the edge of the pattern on the high waistline. So when we get to the edge, you just hold it slightly, then continue taking your measurements at the back, on the back piece I mean. So you continue until you find your 13.5. Now note, the space between the front and the back does not matter. You don't have to measure it. So now we've gotten our 13.5. So it goes to say that every other thing after 13.5 up to the center back line is an excess measurement. So we're going to measure the excess measurement. You can measure it in inches, you can measure it in centimeters, but just know that when you're distributing your darts, you're going to be distributing your darts in centimeters. So you turn to the centimeter part of your tape and you measure. So after I measured it, we got 18 centimeters, just like you can see here. So that 18 centimeters is excess. So we're going to use the 18 centimeters to create darts for the front and to create darts for the back. then we use the remainder to shapen the sides. So shoulder divided by 4, we'll have a shoulder of 14. When you divide by 4, you have 3.5. That is going to be the dart position. So we'll measure the dart position from the center front, and then we'll mark it on the various lines, then we'll just draw it all through. So when we do that now, you consider how busty the person is. For seam B, I'm going to be using darts of 2.5 centimeters to the left, 2.5 centimeters to the right, and that would give me a total of 5 centimeters. Now the intersection of the darts line and the bust position is called the nipple. Well, technically that's what we'll call it. So we don't need this dart pointing directly on the nipple and then giving it a not so nice appearance. So we're going to be measuring from the nipple 1.5 inch down, so that's where our darts would stop upwards. Then downwards it should just stop on the hem, on the full length line. So now you can see our darts looking like a double inverted triangle. So for the front, we have a total dart of 5 centimeters. So out of 18 centimeters, we have used 5 centimeters. Now it leaves us with 13 centimeters. So for the back dart position, it's front dart position plus 0.75 inches or plus 1 inch. So since we have a front dart position of 3.5 inches, we're going to be having a back dart position of 4.5 inches. So now we're going to be darting the back with 1.5 centimeters to the left, 1.5 centimeters to the right. So the dart spans to the armhole line upwards, so you connect, then it spans to the full length line downwards. So now we also have a double inverted triangle. So having a general look at the both, you can actually see that the front has more darts than the back. It has a more dart width than the back. Why? Because the front has a big curve, that's the curve of the bust, and the back doesn't. So now we've taken out 3, so we're left with 10 centimeters. We're going to share the 10 centimeters evenly between the front and the back. So we'll take in 5 centimeters from the edge, connect it to the bust, connect it to the full length. So we're gradually coming to the end of the video. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please do like, share, comment, subscribe, whichever one is more convenient for you. It means so much. So now we've used every bit of the excess we have, and our blouse has a better shape. So we already have the armhole curve. We're going to start. We're going to make an armhole dart. So we'll mark 1.5 inches above the nipple point. We'll connect it to the chest line, and then we're going to make a dart of 1 inch, 0.5 inches upwards, 0.5 inches downwards. So we'll connect and reconnect. So you see, it helps to kill the wobbling effect that comes up when you don't do an armhole dart on a simple darted blouse. So next thing we'll do is that we're going to add sewing allowance to the front piece. We're going to add sewing allowance to the back piece. So for the front piece, since we're not cutting it into pieces, we're going to add a sewing allowance of 2 inches, half inch for turning the lining, 1.5 inch normal sewing allowance. So we're starting from the inside because we no longer need the line, the first line we drew, the straight or oblique line we drew. So you connect it with your metal rule. Connect it to the waistline, then connect it to the full length line. Your work just has to be neat. So we just want to have a little bit of a nice curve down there on the full length area, so we connect the full length to the hem using a slight curve, just a nice shape. See, looks lovely, makes it look very blouse like now. So the next thing we do is that we measure the sewing allowance of 2 inches from the edge of the back piece. We connect it. Thank you very much for watching this video. Remember to share, like, subscribe, and if you're doing this for our online course, please remember to practice. Keep practicing. Don't get tired of practicing. You just never know when you do it and it works. At first it might not work. Don't think it's confusing by just watching the video. While you're watching the video, make sure you have your pattern paper, you have your pencil, you have your eraser, and keep practicing. It's been Rex. Thank you for watching. Bye.